Welcome to the grand finale of the Nexus Biz Quiz. The top 8 finalists are here, coming through a preliminary round which saw nearly 70 contestants take part from across the country. This was a solo business quiz, a bit of a rarity in the business quizzing circles. We followed that up with 2 separate semifinals, one for the top 9 college finishers from the prelim, and another one separately for the top 9 open finishers from the preliminary round. And from there, we have our top 4 contestants each. We must here make a mention that one of the finalists from the college round, Parantap from IIM Bangalore, who had actually qualified, has a clash with an academic schedule today. He's unable to make it, and therefore his slot has been given to the next highest finisher in the prelim, which is Atharva Soman. So, but of course, from the open side, we have the top 4 qualifiers all over here. So let's meet our finalists. As contestant number 1, we have Adarsh Kumar Mahapatra from AIIMS Bhubaneswar.
Hello.
Hi Adarsh, and welcome. Which year are you in?
I'm currently in final year.
You're in your final year. All right. Adarsh is a fairly regular quizzer himself, having quizzed through his school and medical college days. Contestant number 2, our first open finalist today, is Ajay Parshuraman, a strategy consultant from PricewaterhouseCoopers in Bangalore. Ajay, welcome.
Hi everybody. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Ajay. Again, no stranger to quizzing and off-late biz quizzing circles as well. Our next finalist is our kind of the person who got in as the lucky loser from the semi-final, so to say, but had a strong performance in the semi-final as well. Please welcome Atharva Soman from the College of Engineering, Pune.
Hi everyone.
Hi Atharva, which year are you in and which stream are you pursuing?
Third year production engineering.
Third year production engineering. All right. Welcome, regular quizzer, I'm sure. Our next finalist is someone who really needs no introduction in quizzing or business quizzing circles in India. Multiple time winner of pretty much every quiz that is out there to win. Please welcome Jayakanthan from TCS Chennai.
Hi guys. Hi.
Hi JK. Our next finalist is the winner of the, so Jayakanthan was the winner of the open category semi-final, and seated right next to him is the winner of the college semi-final yesterday. We have Jay Rana from NMIMS Mumbai.
Hello everyone.
Jay, are you in your first year or your second year of your MBA?
I'm in my final year of my MBA.
You're in your final year of your MBA. All right. Welcome. We move on next to another familiar face in the biz quizzing circles. Please welcome Setu Madhavan from Capgemini.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Venki.
Hi Setu, and you are currently operating out of Bangalore, are you?
Yes, working out of Bangalore. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have Ajay from Bangalore, Jayakanthan from Chennai, Setu also from Bangalore. Our final finalist on the college category is Zaman Khan from the University of Hyderabad.
Hi, I'm a final year MA Political Science student from University of Hyderabad.
Okay, final year MA Political Science student. All right, welcome. And completing the lineup, this very strong lineup is completed with a very strong contestant, quizzer, quizmaster, current reigning national champion of the Tata Crucible Business Quiz, Subrata Das from Novartis.
Hey, hi everyone.
Hi Subrata, welcome. Right, so let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. So welcome. This is the grand finale. The quiz is researched and brought to you by Nexus Consulting. I'm sure you're familiar with us. Please do go look us up on our social media handles. And my name is Venki, your quizmaster. Okay, these are the prizes. We have these 2 tracks of prizes, interestingly, in this quiz. So the highest scoring open contestant at the end of this quiz gets 1,000 rupees, but so does the highest scoring college contestant among the 4 college contestants. So even if you finish 5th, but you are the highest among the 4 college contestants, you still get your 1,000 rupees. Similar for 500, 300, and 200, right? So 4,000 rupees of prizes to be won, and a good, fair, and fun contest is what we are hoping to have over here with all your support and cooperation. Right, this is the design of the quiz. 3 rounds, 28 questions. No bounce in rounds 1 and 3. Questions will move in a typical infinite bounce fashion, and if nobody answers it, the question will move to the next contestant. And right, prizes for all finalists, as we already said, and video to be on and hands in front of camera all the time. Please ensure you maintain this rule all the time so that there is no confusion at all, right? Okay. And my decision is going to be final at some level, so you'll have to accept that and move on. So 10 questions clockwise, a special round, and 10 questions anti-clockwise. Welcome to round number 1 of the Nexus Biz Quiz. Grand finale, we have 10 questions going clockwise, starting with contestant number 1. There's infinite bounds for plus 10, no negatives, and part pounds where applicable. First question of the finale goes to Adarsh from AIMS Bhubaneswar. Adarsh, here is your question. This €5 coin released in 2009 to mark an occasion was released in 2009 to mark an occasion which led to one of the most famous purchases in all of history. The price of 60 guilders was paid to acquire something. The two sides of the coin shows how the purchase has fared over the years. So what are we talking about, or what was being commemorated in this €5 coin? Right? So there's a bunch of things there, and you can see a date there which says 2nd October 1609, and a bunch of other things. And it says something like it is on that side of the Ruhr that, etc., etc. So all you need to do is tell us what are we talking about, or what is this €5 coin commemorating?
There's just one part, is there, Venki?
There is only one part in this question, yes. Okay, Adarsh, take it away. Make a guess. No negatives on the regular bounds, so feel free to make guesses, please.
I'll say this was the setting up of the Dutch East India Company.
The setting up of the Dutch East India Company. All right. We'll pass you to Ajay.
The purchase of Manhattan.
By?
Minuit. Peter Minuit, I think his name was.
Okay.
So the English, basically New England settlers bought the land that later on became Manhattan.
Whom? From whom?
From the Dutch.
From the Dutch, yeah.
Yeah. The guy called Peter Minuit. Yeah.
That's what we were looking for. So the Dutch purchase of Manhattan is correct, right? So that will get you started with 10 points, Ajay. Atharva, your question. This company, now part of PepsiCo, helped produce this classic movie adaptation. They had been contemplating for a while about entering the candy market and wanted to use the movie for marketing. They also insisted that something be changed from the book in order to promote their sweets. Super Crunch Bar and Peanut Butter Oompas initially sold well, but the company never made it big in this particular field. Even though they are a well-known company, they didn't make it big in this field, right? So which company or brand are we talking about? And what change did they bring about when the movie was adapted from the book?
The company I would say is Frito-Lay.
Frito-Lay, all right.
And the movie or the book is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No, what change did they bring about?
Oh, what change?
So it says they insisted that something be changed from the book in order to promote their sweets.
No guess on the change.
No guess on the change. All right. Jayakanthan?
Hey, this is Quaker Oats, which started a brand called Wonka. The Wonka was a candy brand.
Okay.
And I think to make their brand more prominent, they changed the title of the movie from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That's the perfect answer, JK. Absolutely right. So they did introduce this brand called Willy Wonka's Peanut Butter Oompas and so on. And so they changed the name of the original work was called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But the movie version that you'll remember was kind of called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And there was a business or brand reason behind that. And that was that Quaker Oats wanted to change it. Nice answer, JK. 10 points to you. Well done. Question now goes to Jay. Jay, easiest question, I think, of the finale for you. This product is particularly promising to people living in India's capital, although it has fans across the world. Shown here is a graphic from one company explaining how it makes the product. The biggest market, understandably, is China. What are these people selling, or what is this product?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so they are selling fresh air or mountain air, basically bottled oxygen or bottled air.
I'll give it to you. They're selling pure air. That's all we wanted. They're selling pure air because the air quality in all of these places is understandably abysmal. And so the market for actually bottling and selling pure air has come about. So, people are selling like pristine air, like New Zealand air and so on. And obviously huge buyers in Shanghai and places like that, as well as Delhi. So you got an easy one, but you cracked it. Well done. 10 points to you. Setu, your question. Setu, there are thousands of genes in the human genome and each has an alphanumeric code. But over the past year or so, some 27 human genes have been renamed because of a particular software many scientists rely on. The product's default settings were designed with more mundane applications in mind. So when a user inputs a gene's alphanumeric symbol, like the abbreviated version of, so this is one of the types of things that you would input. Membrane associated ring CH type finger 1 is like a code or a symbol for a gene, right? But when this is actually inputted, it runs into certain types of problems. So which software is this, which is used widely by all of these genetic scientists, right? And, there have been inadvertent and forced renaming because of this software. Just tell us what happens.
Is this Excel?
Okay. Excel.
And I think this could be probably because of some formula error or misreading. Some issue happens.
You'll have to, for the second part, we need a very specific answer.
So probably it misreads it into different thing. Like for example, it takes it as a date or something.
That's good enough. I'll give it to you. I think that's what I was looking for. So in this example, it will kind of shorten it. When you enter the shortened version, it will take it as March 1, right? Because it says membrane associated ring CH. It takes it as March 1 and converts it into dates. So that's what it does inadvertently. And therefore, this then starts creating, all kinds of naming issues. Well done. Nicely worked out. 10 points to you as well, Setu. Zaman, your question coming up. The design didn't come along till 1969 when they started to grow internationally. The founders began to worry about competition and started to think about ways to distinguish themselves. The design was a fusion of common sense, the architectural taste of the 50s, and the need for a design to be both remarkable and appealing in a variety of locations. The design itself was patented as well. What are we talking about? That should help. So what are we talking about? Fusion of common sense, the architectural taste of the 50s, and the need for the design to be both remarkable and appealing in a variety of locations. Again, be a little descriptive and specific with your answer.
Okay, I'll go with Pizza Hut.
What about Pizza
The
Hut?
Pizza Hut building, their logo, the building somehow resembled the logo of Pizza Hut, so that's why I'm going with Pizza Hut.
What about the building? Tell me a little bit more. What is so distinctive? What is so distinctive?
The hat-shaped thing, the chimney or
and can you tell me
top thing?
Yeah, and can you tell me something more? Given that it says it has to be appealing everywhere. Okay, fine.
The logo of Pizza Hut.
Fine. And what color is it in?
Yellow.
Okay, fine. I think we'll just close it in the spirit of being liberal and nice to you. Since you're a college student, we'll give it to you. This is basically the red roof of Pizza Hut.
Oh,
right? This is the distinctive shape and the red roof of Pizza Hut, which you find everywhere. But since you said Pizza Hut and said everything about shape and all of that, I'll be liberal and give it to you, though the question setter might kill me later for this, but it's fine. Okay, Subrato, your question. This Swiss brand from Natural Textiles Limited was launched in India in the mid-90s as a JV with a Mumbai-based exporter. The idea behind one of its earliest ad campaigns was to playfully remind audiences the brand was Swiss. The print ad, which featured two scantily clad models, had the line, "And you thought your appetite for indulgence could only be whetted by Swiss chocolates." So it was one of those, daring ads, and as was to be expected, it caused a huge uproar. Which brand was this? Which future Bollywood actress won half of a famous relationship? At that time, she was still an up-and-coming actress, and she was more, she was modeling more than acting. So, which future Bollywood actress was one of the two models?
Okay, so I am guessing that this is the. Okay, I have two actually. I don't know which one to go with.
Pick one. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with the Tough Shoes and Madhu Sapre.
Okay, you picked the wrong one. Not Tough Shoes and Madhu Sapre. Adarsh?
Actress, I'll guess, is Deepika Padukone.
Okay. Any guess on the brand?
No, I'll pass.
Okay, Ajay?
I'll say Sushmita Sen
Okay.
is the Bollywood actress, and Levi Strauss.
Levi Strauss and Sushmita Sen. All right. Atharva?
The actress I would say is Priyanka Chopra.
Priyanka Chopra. Okay. We're doing a full auction of all names here. Very good.
The brand, I have no clue on the brand.
No clue on the brand. Okay. JK?
Did you say anything about the brand? As in,
No, didn't
Okay.
really say anything else. Yeah.
all right. I'll say this is a brand called Jungfrau.
Okay.
Vaguely remember something like that. And future Bollywood actress, I'll say Gauri Khan.
Gauri Khan. Okay. Passing you on that to Jay.
I'll say probably they partnered with Vimal, and I can only think of that electronic wear ad that Vimal was famously known for, the print ad. I
Okay.
don't know it was 90s, but I'll go with the Swiss brand to be Eureka, and,
Okay.
and the actress. So the Vimal ad had Ravi Shastri and Meher Jasia, so I'll stay with Meher Jasia.
Okay. Nice guess. Setu?
I'm guessing. So this will be the brand where Dino Moria bites off the clothing of Bipasha Basu. The thing is Calida or Calida.
What wonderful expertise and knowledge, Setu. Absolutely correct. Describing the ad perfectly. This is Calida, Dino Moria, and Bipasha Basu. Absolutely right. Well done. Take your 10 points. Nicely answered. It kind of went around the room as well. So 10 points to you. Well done. Okay. I was wondering if people would remember the Calida ad. This is one of those bunch of things that came around about the same time with all the Tough Shoes and all of those things. Yeah. Well done. Okay. Zaman, question back to you. In the 1980s, ad campaigns for this product reached a large percentage of India's population, promoting its benefits, vitamins, etc. However, feedback was quite disappointing. It gives me a tickle in my throat, gives me constipation, were among them. The most concerning one was from housewives. They would flatly deny using the product, although many of them used it. So which one's ubiquitous product stroke brand? And why did housewives apparently deny using it? So while it did become very popular and was extensively used by housewives, right, a lot of them would publicly kind of deny that they used it. So why would they deny using it, and what brand is this?
Yeah, I'll say Vicks. The Vicks
Vicks, okay.
candy or something. Yeah.
Okay. And why did the housewives deny using it?
There was a legend that consuming the Vicks candy would lead to infertility or something.
Wow. Okay. That's a completely, even as a legend, that's completely made up. All right. Subrato?
I think that this is the 7 C's cod liver oil pill.
Okay.
And a large portion of a large portion of Indian population was vegetarian, so they would deny using it because it was from fish oil and everything.
Nice guess. Nothing to do with that. Adarsh?
For the product, do you want something specific or a generic?
You tell me what you know. Like I said, I need like a brand name, but you
Okay,
can consider it a product name as well.
I'll guess this is some cough syrup, and because
syrup.
it had alcohol in it.
Alcohol in it. Okay, nice guess again. Ajay?
I'll guess Strepsils.
Okay.
Because the color was such that it made them look like they've had pan. So
Nice,
that was-
nice. All interesting guesses. All interesting guesses. Atharva?
So I would say the product is calcium sanders,
Okay.
and like housewives denied it because like they didn't want to show their in-laws or like they had weak bones. So
They didn't want to advertise the fact that they had weak
Yeah.
bones or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. JK?
Okay, I'll say this is housewives apparently they're using it. Basically, some kind of a thing which would make them look like they're not doing much work or they're lazy or something. There's this common thing that people don't really accept that they're using stuff like cake mixes, instant noodles, etc. Because there is a thing that they're not doing enough work.
Understood.
Make them look like bad parents or bad thing.
Yeah.
And so the same psychology as this, and this is something which is given to kids, I guess. Something like Gelusil, I don't know.
Gelusil. Okay, nice guess. This is not that funda though. Jay?
I'll guess I'll take a different route. I'll say that this is something of a soft drink of sorts.
Okay.
Probably Coca-Cola or Pepsi or something of that sort. And many of them denied it because there was a misconception that soft drinks, are made for people who are outgoing or something like that, and housewives did not want to associate themselves with.
Understood. Nice guess again. Nice guess. So we round it up with Setu.
I'll say chewing gum. I'm
Okay.
big fan. So obviously, chewing gum causes constipation.
Ah.
And housewives apparently deny using it because they educate the children not to use it, and they themselves in turn use it. So
using it would not be right. Okay.
Dalda.
It is dalda, right? It is dalda. And the reason housewives, now anybody wants to guess non-comp on why housewives denied using it?
Because it was not ghee, right? I mean, because they would basically say they want poorer things and all of that.
Exactly. So they didn't want to admit that they used dalda because dalda was vanaspati, which was the ghee substitute, right? And by admitting that they used dalda, they would kind of be admitting that we are too poor to use ghee. Tough luck, nobody gets that. That was Zaman's direct. So we go to Subrato now for his direct. Subrato, simple one for you. From 1997, Intel provided the technology for this unique project. When the subject situation deteriorated, the biggest problem became missed key hits, which led to further difficulty in communicating. To address the missed key hits, the Intel team looked to solutions using an algorithm like those used in word processing and mobile phones. And there's a quote there saying, we were trying to teach the world's most famous and smartest 72-year-old grandfather to try and learn this new way of interacting with technology. What are we talking about?
So this is the Stephen Hawking's voice, the way he spoke, right? Using basically he used a Intel communicator in his what do you call it? So basically the way he talked, right? He had to type everything, and Intel basically gave the technology for that. So I think famous and smartest to learn the new way of interacting with the technology. Situation deteriorated. Yeah. So this is Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking only.
Sure?
Yeah. I had two options, but since deteriorated and all of that.
Don't change your option again. This time you are correct. This is Stephen Hawking's electronic speech. As simple as that. And as described by Subrato. So Intel made this custom, as his kind of ALS syndrome deteriorated and so on, Intel had to make this whole custom technology for him so that his kind of impulses and whatever he was typing could actually be converted into that electronic sounding voice that you heard towards the end of his life. All right, well done. Nicely done. 10 points to you. Adarsh, last question, penultimate question to you. The office building of this historic organization on Strahans Road in Perambur, Chennai is a picture of neglect. It was established by two traders after they heard of certain events at what was then the Buckingham and Carnatic Mills. After the closure of the mills in 1996, things have gone downhill. What is the significance of this organization or this office building? There is an image. Yeah, there is nothing much to gain from the image. It just says the stone was laid by V. Kalyanasundara Mudaliyar, both in Tamil and in English. There is a date there which I can read out to you, which I think roughly says 29/5/31. Okay, 29/5/31. So what this building is today, as you can see, it's in complete in a dilapidated state, but it should actually be like it is actually a very significant building. Why?
I'll say the civil disobedience movement started in 1930. So this was where the Gandhiji weaved his khadi.
Gandhiji weaved his khadi over here. Okay, nice guess. Ajay?
I'll say this is where Rajaji was.
Rajaji was.
I don't know, helped establish the Indian Bank.
Rajaji established the Indian Bank. All right.
Helped. Yeah, pass.
Helped establish the Indian Bank. All right. Okay, Atharva?
So the significance of this organization is like it's the first labor union in India. So like Mills Labor Union. So because of something that happened at the mills, the people, the two traders started a labor union, something of that sort.
And it is the first labor union in India.
Yes.
That's a cracker of an answer, Atharva. Absolutely right. Beautiful. This is the Madras Labor Union. It was the first labor union in India, started by those workers from the Buckingham and Carnatic mills over there. Great answer. Well done. I thought this would be a toughie, especially for the college track at least, but great answer. Glad to see that someone from college answered it. JK, of course, I'm sure was waiting to answer it, but it got eaten up there. All right. Last question of the round to JK. C- is a radar-based surveillance system whose name is slightly misleading since the creature it is named for live only on land. The name is, however, also appropriate considering its tall, lanky build and since it can see incoming danger from far away. It was made by a defense major founded in the late 1930s in a country that had been largely neutral and peaceful. The company was started to ensure the nation's sovereignty, and it is a kind of iconic company in the defense space from this country, a European, right? So fill in the blank. The blank is the name of a creature. So that's the name of the radar surveillance system. And which company is this? European defense company. This is how it kind of looks. So it's given its name because it is, while it is a misnomer, because whatever it's named after lives only on land, but it's also appropriate because it's tall, lanky, and can see any approaching danger, which is the whole purpose of this radar surveillance system.
Hey, can you just show the visual once again? Sorry.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll say some French company, something like Tails, which is part of Dassault, I think.
Okay.
And can you just show the text? Lanky build and all this something. So?
Yeah.
I say Sea Camel.
Sea Camel. Okay.
Yeah.
So Sea Camel and Tail. Jay?
Just go with the tall hint and I'll say Sea Giraffe.
Okay.
And giraffe being on land. For the country, I'll say so. Sweden and Norway have been one of the most peaceful countries, and I'll go with Saab for Sweden.
Brilliant answer. Absolutely right. Sea Giraffe and Saab is absolutely correct. Great answer there. Well worked out. It is Sea Giraffe and this is Saab from Sweden. Nicely done. Good 10 points to Jay Rana on that one. That's the end of the first round. Let's take a quick look at the scores.
Okay, so the scores look like this as of now. Adarsh is yet to open his account. Ajay is at 10. Atharva is at 10. JK is also at 10. Uh, Jay and Setu are both at 20 right now.
Okay.
Zaman is at 10. And Subrata is at 10.
Okay, so pretty much very, very early days. So guys, so in this round, we will do it very similar to what we did it yesterday. The round is called heads and tails. Don't worry, it's essentially like two parts to each question, which are, in some cases, the parts are kind of opposites of each other in some way, but don't get misled by all that. Just take it as a regular question with two parts in it, right? Two parts in each question, plus 5 for each part on the direct. But if you don't answer both parts, then I'll open it out on the pounce. We'll give you 15 seconds. Please pounce through a direct message on Zoom chat to Hatim, right? Please do not pounce to all. Please pounce specifically to Hatim. And if possible, append your name to the pounce so that it's clear who has pounced. There is no part pouncing, so you'll get a -5 even if you get one part right, one part wrong. You don't need to pounce till the person whose direct it is has finished answering, right? So let that person finish answering. If they get it wrong, only then we open it out on the pounce, right? But remember, there are two parts to everything. So we will begin in ascending order of scores. So we will begin with Adarsh, who's anyway kind of contestant number 1. So Adarsh, the first question comes to you. Right. Allow us to illuminate the origin of this product for you. An ex-cop asked the company founder if he could make a sturdier replacement for something the LAPD used. The founder was a machinist. He created an all-aluminium body, and the new product was born in 1979. It became hugely popular with police forces across USA. It could assist in many ways, including narrowing down on a crime scene. It also got an unwanted publicity thanks to a few of them who misused them, right? So what is the product named after the company's founder? Why did it gain notoriety? And there are some clues, here and there. Read the first line very carefully, right? Okay, Adarsh, do you have a guess? No negatives for you, so feel free to guess.
Since there's illuminate, I'll go with the lights on top of cop cars.
Okay.
Gain notoriety because it has become a symbol of police violence or something.
It's become a symbol of police violence. Okay. Not correct. All right, it's now open. If anybody wants to pounce, you have both parts to pounce for.
Yeah, God pounces from JK and Setu.
JK and Setu. Okay, JK, why don't you make a guess?
Okay, this is, I'm guessing this is the torchlights used by US cops, that flashlight type thing, which looks heavy duty and made of metal. It's called Maglite.
Okay.
And it became notorious because people started using it as a weapon to beat people.
Absolutely correct. Perfectly correct. Maglite. And cops started using it as a club to start whacking people, right? That's why it said illuminate, and you can narrow down on the crime scene and so on, because you shine a torch and you'll know exactly where the bloodstains are and stuff like that. So that's +10 to JK, and Setu also got it right.
Setu has guessed that it is used as a weapon by other people.
Okay. And has he given Maglite?
Yeah, Maglite is there.
That's fine. Give it. Used as a weapon is the operative part. That's okay.
So Setu and JK get 10 points.
Setu and JK both get 10 points. The next question, now we'll just go in regular order. A lot of people tied on 10 points anyway after the previous round. So we are taking previous round scores for ascending order of scores. So we will next go to Ajay. Ajay, it's your direct. The product in this question had its origins in a world event that took place in 1956. Sir Leonard Lord, the head of the Dash company, issued his top engineer a challenge. The engineer came out with 2 innovations. He pushed the wheels all the way out to the corners and turned the engine sideways. This increased the room available for people and made the product more stable. What was the world event that necessitated this invention? And what was the new product that thus came about? New product or new brand that thus came about. This is just a generic image, but we're looking for. I need a proper noun as part of the answer for the first part.
Okay, so my guess would be the death of James Dean.
Okay.
In a car crash.
Okay.
And Some car company. Morris Oxford.
Death of James Dean in a car crash in Morris, Oxford. Okay,
Yeah.
incorrect. So open on the pounds to people.
Yeah, pounds is from J. Subrata and JK.
J, Subrata and JK. Okay, let's ask J to give us a guess in this case.
So 1956 is the Suez Crisis.
Right.
I went with that event. And car, so the engine came up with two innovation, pushed the wheels, and so this is related to the Austin cars that changed their design. So the brand being Austin and yeah, Suez Crisis. That's, I guess,
Austin and Suez Crisis. Sorry, can't give it to you on that. That's going to be a -5. Subrata?
1956 oil shortage, Suez and Mini.
And the Mini. Yeah, that is correct. Suez Crisis and the Mini is correct. The Mini Cooper. Yeah, the Suez Crisis. And the
JK also gets +10 on this.
Okay, so JK and Subrata get +10. J gets -5, unfortunately. No problem. Keep trying. Atharva, your question. For several years, he wrote The Underground Gourmet, a guide to cheap restaurants in New York Magazine. It was a popular column. Who better to write the column, later published as a book, than this man who knew the city intimately and loved it? His work includes ads for a hit show that ended in 2014. Who is this genius? Which was the show? Hit show.
So my guess would be Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Anthony Bourdain.
And the show is Places Unknown, or I don't remember the exact name.
Places Unknown.
Places
Okay.
Unknown.
Not Anthony Bourdain, Places Unknown. Wrong track. Okay, open on the pounds. This should be easy. I think there'll be a lot of pounces on this one.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Pounces from?
Pounds is from Setu, Adarsh and JK.
Setu, Adarsh and JK. Okay, let's ask Adarsh to make a guess.
Probably wrong, I guess. Donald Trump and The Apprentice.
Not Donald Trump and The Apprentice. Setu?
Since you say loved it, I'm saying it's Milton Glaser and I Love New York.
Okay, and which was the show?
The show,
Oh, you went with I Love New York as the show name. Okay.
as a show name, I like.
That is not correct. You did get the clue correctly. It is Milton Glaser because of I Love New York. That was the clue to get to Milton Glaser. But Milton Glaser did advertisements for which hit show that ended in 2014? JK?
Mad Men.
Mad Men. That's correct. So he did the advertisements for Mad Men, right? All the season finale Mad Men posters were all designed by Milton Glaser. And Milton Glaser, of course, passed away recently. And he's the one who came up with the iconic I Love New York symbol. So that's going to be, unfortunately, -5 to Adarsh and -5 to Setu and +10, I think, to JK. Okay, this is your direct. Ailsa Craig is a tiny volcanic isle near the Firth of Clyde. The company Case, founded in 1851, has the exclusive rights to harvest, quote unquote, something from here. Thanks to their exclusivity, Case are the only suppliers of the product, which is used in an important gathering that takes place once every 4 years. What is the basic material? And specifically, what does Case manufacture?
So this is my question, right?
Yeah, it's your question. Go ahead.
Okay. So the once in 4 years is basically whenever the curling happens in the Olympics and all that.
Okay.
And this is that stone which is used in curling. This thing, and basically whatever the material that it's made out of, right?
Yeah. What is that material? I think make a simple guess.
It's that kind of rock or stone or ice or whatever that is there.
Give me a name. What type of rock? Take a straightforward guess.
It's that volcanic rock, no? I mean that. It's that. I don't know. What is this curling stone made out of? That. It's a kind of stone material, naturally occurring material, right?
Give me a name. You're saying all of this. Just give me a simple name.
Granite stone. I don't know.
That's all it is. It is granite stone. Okay, it's granite stone, and it is indeed Case-baked curling stones used at the Winter Olympics. And you can see that the Case logo is designed like the grip of a curling stone. Okay, after a long and arduous bit of thinking through that, JK gets his 10 points. Okay, we are now going to kind of start anti-clockwise. So Subrata, your question. The people shown here created some of the most influential designs of the 20th century. Name them. They are shown here as being pinned down by parts of one of their creations. What are the objects in the photo?
I'm guessing the objects are chairs. Those are chair frames, right?
Okay.
Can you just show the objects once again?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So those are objects. I mean, the objects are chair frames.
Okay.
Nothing but chair frames. Maybe one of those, and I think these are the founders of the swan chair. That the swan. What do you call it? Sorry, the egg chair that is there, right? The egg-shaped chair.
What are their names?
I forgot. No.
No? Okay. All right.
Can we go back to the text? Sorry.
Yes. Okay. So we're closing pounds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I presume many people have pounced. Ajay, tell us the answer.
Ray and Charles Eames and the parts of a chair. Eames chair.
Eames chair. Ray and Charles Eames and the legs of the chair that they designed. It's fine. Even if you don't say legs, if you just say chair frame or parts of a chair, that will do. Also, we will give 5 points to Subrato because there are part points on this to the direct. So 5 points to Subrato for getting the chairs part, for saying chair frames. And points, Hatim?
Zaman gets a +10.
Okay.
Ajay gets a +10.
Okay.
Jay gets a -5.
Okay.
And JK gets a +10.
+10. All right. Okay. Zaman, it is, and Subrato gets a +5. Okay. Zaman, yours. Her travels to Tahiti and South Africa gave her insight into customs that she would later apply in her company's products. When you lived for 6 months with a group that is rubbing their bodies with cocoa butter, and those bodies are magnificent, you go on to break all sorts of conventions, she once said. She campaigned for something relentlessly. A popular motif of the campaign was the image of celebrities putting their palms above their head, mimicking something. What brand or business did she found? What did she campaign against? You don't have to name her. If you can, well and good. But you don't have to particularly name her. This is her. Right? So just tell us the name of the brand or the business that she started and tell us what did she relentlessly campaign against. Yes, go ahead, Zaman. No guess.
I'll say she started the body shop.
Okay. And what did she campaign against?
Is she against hair fixing or something?
Against what? Hair fixing?
Yeah, baldness, hair fixing. Treatment.
Okay, all right. Treatments for hair fixing. All right, open on the pounce. Okay, Hatim, presume a lot of people pounced.
Yeah, we got pounces from Jay, Subrata, Setu, and Ajay.
Jay, Subrata, Setu, and Ajay. Okay. JK didn't pounce?
No.
Okay. Jay, tell us the answer.
So she's Anita Roddick and of course Body Shop, and she created the Red Ruby doll as campaign against the Barbie doll.
Campaign against the Barbie doll. No, not what we were looking for. Looking for something simpler. Subrato?
Yeah, so basically that is against animal testing. It looks like rabbits if you put it like this.
That's all we wanted. Against animal testing. Yeah, banning animal testing. Perfectly correct. So animal testing will get you the full points. So Hatim, please give us the points.
Ajay gets +10.
Okay.
Subrata gets +10. Setu gets -5. Jay gets -5.
Okay. And Zaman gets +5 for saying Body Shop.
Yes, all right.
All right. Okay, Setu, your question coming up. This classic piece of industrial design goes back to the 1930s. George Cavardine had experience with cars. Their suspension systems inspired the four-spring mechanism in this product. It was mainly made for environments such as workshops and surgery units, but a home version soon became a hit. What exactly did George Cavardine develop? Meanwhile, its friendly anthropomorphic shape led to a starring role in a video shot by amateur filmmaker Peter Wright. That in turn led to something more familiar. How are we familiar with this today?
So this is the Angel Poise lamp and the Pixar logo.
Brilliant answer. Absolutely right. Angel Poise lamp and Pixar logo is correct. Smashed by Setu. Well done. 10 points. Doesn't pass at all. Angel Poise lamps and Pixar logo. Where you see Luxo Jr., the name of that lamp, dancing around in the logo of Pixar. Nicely done. Okay, last question of the special round goes to Jay. The picture here shows a worker polishing its body. Focus on the shape. The product line has origins in World War II. Sweden had recovered something from a German surveillance airplane. The government wanted to recreate a product based on the German version. After the war, it became hugely popular thanks to its reliability. It gained its true claim to fame after a person called Walter Schirra took it with him in 1962. What is the brand? Where did Schirra take it?
Venki, could you go back to the question, please?
Can we go back to the image again? Sorry. Okay, I'll guess this is the black box which is found in planes for recording instances or happenings of the plane. And it gained true claim of fame after Walter Schirra took it for his transatlantic trip. So he basically had a transatlantic
trip. Okay, no, nothing to do with black box or transatlantic trip. Open on the pounds. Hatem, who all pounced?
Only Subrata and JK have pounced.
Okay, Subrata, please answer.
It's Hasselblad and he took it to space.
Perfect. 10 points. This is Hasselblad and Hasselblad cameras, and he took it to space. Schirra was a NASA astronaut who flew the Mercury missions, and he took it to outer space or just space. That's 10 to Subrato, and I presume 10 to JK on that. All right. Can you tell us consolidated scores now with one round to go?
Okay, so these are the scores. Adarsh is at -5, Ajay is at 30, Atharva is at 10, JK is at 17,
okay.
Jay is at 5, Setu is at 30, Zaman is at 25, and Subrata is at 45.
45, okay. So in the open track, Jayakanthan leading with 70 points, Subrato Das from Novartis on 45 points, and a tie currently for third place between Ajay Parshuraman and Setu Madhavan, both with 30 points. And in the college track, we have Zaman leading with 25 points from the University of Hyderabad. We have Atharva with 10 points. We have Jay with 5 points and Adarsh with -5, but there's still some way to go, so don't worry. All right. So we are going to start the final 10 questions of the quiz. We are starting anti-clockwise, and we'll just continue. Since we gave Jay the last question, we'll just continue from there on and give JK the next question. So same rules as before, no pounces. So please keep your hands in front of the camera all the time. Right, here's your question. In the 1890s, she began to lose her hair. Regular shampooing wasn't possible and problems like lice and pollutants went untreated. In addition, many of the hair products available at the time likely damaged hair and scalps. So she embarked upon a search for a cure for her hair loss. In 1906, she achieved some success and adopted a moniker. She never looked back after that. Who's this and what first does she have to her name according to the Guinness Book and things like that?
This is my question, right?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Okay. This is CJ Walker, the lady who started a fashion. I mean that what do you call it? Cosmetics brand, cosmetic empire, basically.
Okay.
That hair, this thing, and all that. I think she became the first black millionaire or the first female millionaire among the black community. As she became. Her products very successful, and she was one of the first black entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think you've given all the keywords, so I'll give you the point. She's the first African-American self-made millionaire, right? Entrepreneurial millionaire, so to say. And this is CJ Walker. What is the general moniker that she was known by, JK?
Moniker, Madam C.J. Walker is
Madam
what?
C.J. Walker.
Oh, okay,
yes.
that's a moniker. Okay.
Just called Madam C.J. Walker, right? And she was the first self-made woman millionaire, possibly first self-made woman millionaire itself, and definitely African American, of course. So well done. That's good enough. There's a Netflix limited series called Self-Made on her life. So it's 10 points to JK. Atharva, your question? This internet sweetheart, priced at $75,000, is now available for businesses to purchase after a successful early adopter program. The company says they are ideal for tasks that are dangerous or repetitive, like carrying a camera around a factory 40 times a day and taking the same pictures each time and so on. The Singapore government has also used it to do something in public locations, showing how life-saving it can be. Whether it will be man's best friend is yet to be seen. What are we talking about? We need a kind of specific name there that it has. And what has Singapore used it for? So while use cases for it are largely on factory shop floors and things like that, and warehouses and so on, what has Singapore used it for in public locations? It is Atharva's question.
So my guess would be this is the Asimo robot.
Okay.
And Singapore, like, so going on the life-saving thing. So if like someone is trying to commit suicide, like jumping from a bridge or something like that, it sounds an alarm so that, or like it sends an alert to the nearest police station.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. So Asimo and sending alerts to prevent suicides. Very nice guess, but incorrect. Ajay?
I'll also stick to the Asimo guess, and for the reason I'll say it's to prevent people from gathering together.
Okay.
Whenever like multiple people gather together, there's no social distancing and all of that. It sort of sends an alert, like barks or whatever. It creates a noise to say that you're standing too close to each other. There is a risk of spread of infection.
Okay.
So like stay away.
To maintain social distancing. All right. Okay. Adarsh?
Yeah, I'll say this is Aibo.
Okay.
And it doubles down as a automated defibrillator.
Defibrillator. Okay. Nice guess. Subrato?
Sorry, so this is the Boston Dynamics dog. I think it's called Spot, and it's used in Singapore for social distancing within coronavirus and everything.
Perfect answer. Take your 10 points. This is the Boston Dynamics dog Spot, and it is indeed used to enforce social distancing, like Ajay also said, to make sure that people don't kind of gather up together and are too close to each other and so on. 5 points to Ajay and the full 10 points to Subrato for a perfect answer. Boston Dynamics is a robot dog called Spot. Nicely done. Okay, Zaman, your question. Chance to consolidate your lead. Kutol had been the largest wallpaper cleaner manufacturer in the world in the early 20th century. However, in the 1950s, its primary product, a soft, pliable compound used for wiping soot from wallpaper, faced a severe drop in demand. Having no choice, they soon changed their target audience and found even greater success there. Which iconic product did they end up creating therefore? So you can give me a brand name. And why did the demand for that primary product actually go down? So that product was used to wipe soot from wallpaper. Why did that go down? Why did the demand for that go down? Resulting in them going into a completely different kind of demographic target industry and so on, and coming up with an iconic brand.
For the first part, I'll say Play-Doh.
Okay.
And for the second part, I'll say like soot is basically the carbon thing. Like while you cook and all, like soot appears on walls.
Yeah.
So like after one point, like after the 1950s, the gas stove was introduced, so there wasn't soot. So the popularity of this thing went down.
I need a better answer for the second part.
So the primary use of this product is to wipe out soot from wallpaper. So
on what structure or where does soot typically gather and so on?
Chimneys and all.
Okay. And so why did the demand go down after the 50s?
Like reduction in number of chimneys, like because of the cooking method was different. there wasn't much suit.
Okay, I think I'll give it to you since you've more or less given most of the facts. The specific thing you didn't actually say is that, so the transition was to cleaner gas and electricity. So the soot buildup on wallpaper was no longer an issue. But conceptually, you said the same thing, and very good answer on Play-Doh, of course, on the first part, right? So since the soot buildup was much lesser, they didn't really need to use the earlier product. Yeah, so broadly you got the concept right. So I'm being liberal and I'll give it to you. Take your 10 points. Question to Setu. One of the few businesses to have benefited from the pandemic are dash shops. Although they were initially affected by cancelled weddings, sales have picked up. In the US, mental health issues are increasing and blank in the house are a stress reliever. People's need to connect and celebrate moments that they miss, birthdays, anniversaries, etc. are increasing sales. The business was already used to operating via the internet, so faced little trouble in adapting. Very simple. What business are we talking about?
Are these flower business?
That's all I want. This is the flowers business. Yeah, the flowers business. Well done. So, the business has actually kind of gone up because people are buying more flowers, and ordering flowers on the internet was never a strange thing. People used to do it all the time. So this is a good way for people to kind of relieve stress, celebrate, and so on. Nicely done. Deceptively simple question, but could have been tricky and would have cost you valuable 10 points if you missed it, but you did get it. Well done. Jay, question to you. When Gerald Ford became president, the economy was in tatters. No GDP growth and inflation near 12%. Looking for advice, they met with economist X and said that they planned to raise taxes and earn more government revenue. X objected and to illustrate his point, began sketching a graph on a napkin. He drew a line that started in the corner, ballooned the line out like a bullet emerging from the y-axis, and then connected it back to the y-axis on top of the graph. Simply tell us what was thus born.
I am actually not sure. I'll say this is Fisher's index or the Fisher's graph.
Not Fisher's index. Okay, passes to Jaykantan.
This is the Laffer curve.
Yeah, this is the Laffer curve. What does the Laffer curve broadly talk about?
Basically, you start increasing income tax, the revenue you generate actually goes down.
Absolutely right. So there is a case to be made for actually reducing the tax rate, and reducing the tax rate could actually increase the amount of revenue that you make through collections, and the inverse is true as well. You increase the tax rate and your actual collection might actually go down. This is Arthur Laffer, who memorably drew out this on like a piece of paper and has become like a cornerstone of taxation policy, at least in the US for a while now. Well done. Laffer curve, 10 points to JK. Atharva, your question. Much like Mackenzie Scott giving away her Amazon-derived fortune, this lady did something similar in the 1980s. After her husband died, she inherited his controlling stake in the company. She gave $235 million gift to NPR, $2 billion gift to the Salvation Army. She never forgot the roots of her fortune though. Around the fancy neighborhood where she lived, she was known to drive to the nearest blank and leave $100 tips. Simply tell us, who was she married to?
So I would say she was married to Colonel Sanders and KFC. Like she left $100 tips at KFC.
She was married to Harlan Sanders and KFC. Nice guess. Passing you on to Ajay.
I'll say Kroc of McDonald's.
She was married to Kroc of McDonald's.
Yeah, KROC.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the right answer. This is Joan Kroc, married to Ray Kroc of McDonald's. That is correct. So Ray and John, this book kind of talking about the story. 10 points to Ajay. Well done. Tough luck, Atharva. I think it was you got onto the right track. It was just a trade-off over there. Happens. Okay, Adarsh, coming to you. When the US Civil War broke out, Egypt was one of the countries that took to the production of this crop. The rulers invested millions in the industry, developing infrastructure and causing a boom. Ironically, considering the reason why the boom had started, something became more common in Egypt. What crop did they start growing, and what thus became more common in Egypt? Okay, Adarsh, come on, make a guess.
I'll say cotton for the crop,
Mm-hmm.
and ball weevils became
Ball
more
weevils.
common.
Very nice, very nice, very nice guess. Subrato?
Okay, I was also going by the cotton only, and I am guessing that locusts became more common in Egypt, the plague and everything.
Okay, plague of Egypt and all that. No. Zaman?
For the crop part, I'll say cotton. And for
Yeah. What's your guess?
I'll say like people's because of the weather, like people started wearing some other material
Ah,
clothes.
okay. So people started wearing other material clothes because they got more money. Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice, right?
So
Setu?
cotton became excess.
Yeah, yeah. Got it. Understood. Nice guess. Setu?
I'm saying cotton, and because of the industry birth, there was a lot of disputes.
Disputes.
Yeah,
Okay. So labor disputes and things like
labor disputes.
that. Okay. Nice guess again. Jay?
Yeah, so crop, I'll go with cotton. And so, because of cotton, a lot of people were employed as slaves, and cotton being one of, like, slavery became very common in Egypt.
That's a cracker of an answer, Jay. Absolutely right. So this is cotton, and feudal labor or bonded labor and kind of slave labor became kind of common. And considering that that was the original reason why the Civil War broke out in the US itself, right, as an anti-slavery thing, kind of ended up creating a feudal slavery-like system in Egypt. Very well done. Nice answer. Take your full 10 points and 5 points to Adarsh for saying cotton. Question direct to Jaykantham. It's often regarded as the fifth best tournament in its sport and has been hosted in the desert for more than 35 years. For many years, it was run by Charlie Passarell and Ray Moore. In 2009, it got a new owner who reportedly paid over the 100 million mark. It has won the Tournament of the Year award 6 times in a row. Although known by the name of its location, its official name is that of the largest bank in the Eurozone. So what is this tournament called, which is the official name, which is the largest bank in the Eurozone? And who is the new owner of this tournament? That's an individual.
I'll say for the first part, I'll say this is Santander, some sporting tournament known by Santander, Banco
Okay.
Santander.
Okay.
It's a large bank in Eurozone. And new owner is Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Okay, nice guess. Not correct. Atharva?
I would say the tournament is like, so it's hosted by Santander. It's the Dakar Rally,
Okay.
and the owner I would say is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. All right. Ajay?
I'll say BNP Paribas Open.
Okay.
Uh,
What is that otherwise called?
Indian Wells.
Okay. And who's the owner?
2,900 million. Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Okay. Adarsh?
I'll stick with Santander for the first part, and second part I'll go for Carlos Slim Helu.
Carlos Slim Helu. Okay. Subrato?
Is BNP Paribas, that is the largest bank, Indian Wells, and owner is Larry Ellison.
That gets you 10 points. Absolutely right. This is the BNP Paribas Open, which is the Indian Wells tournament held in Indian Wells, California. Widely considered after the Grand Slams as the next most significant or important tournament in tennis. And Larry Ellison kind of, bought the tournament, if there is such a thing, paying more than $100 million. Well done. 5 points to Ajay, whose sports quizzing comes to the fore and gets BNP Paribas and Indian Wells. And 10 points to Subrato for completing that answer. Okay, penultimate question to Zaman. The story began with Athenes de Villemont, a soldier who shone during the American War of Independence. He inherited an expensive estate from his family in the Ai area and realized its potential but was banned from trading. Soon he met Joseph Blank, a widely traveled German who was learning the X trade. The firm was founded on 6 February 1829. This is the story of which brand often remembered during celebratory occasions?
I'll go with Dom Perignon champagne.
Dom Perignon, not Dom Perignon champagne. Question passes to Setu.
This is Bollinger.
This is Bollinger, indeed. What is Bollinger for the benefit of the audience?
Bollinger is at Champagne.
Yeah, Bollinger Champagne. That is correct. Bollinger, well done. So that was Joseph Bollinger, and this is the story of the brand Bollinger. All right, great answer, Setu. 10 points to you. With that, we come to the final question of the quiz. So thank you all once again very much, not just to these 8 finalists who have been fantastic here today, but to all 70 of you who took part in the preliminary round. There were people who supported us by kind of underwriting the costs of college students to participate in the quiz because we had a nominal entry fee. So thank you very much for such gestures. We are trying to, do a quiz a month or at least once every other month on specific topics. Every other month is usually for school children, and then there are open or college quizzes that will keep coming up that we will be doing in very similar formats where the preliminary rounds will be held on a quiz platform and then subsequent rounds will be held on Zoom calls like this. So please do keep a lookout for those announcements. Please also keep a watch on the Nexus social media pages. We are running this web series called The Road Less Taken, where we are in conversation with people who have made unconventional career choices and succeeded at them. The season finale of the first season comes up next Friday, which is the 11th of September, and we have a very, very big name as a guest for that. So please do watch it and like, share, subscribe, and share your love on that. All feedback, as always, is welcome. We know that there are several ways to improve these online type things that we are doing. So if you have any thoughts, any feedback, please share them with one of us on our social media handles, email, whatever it is, right? So thank you very much. And on that note, last question of the quiz goes to Jay Rana. Here we go. This is a landmark paper that explains a well-known phenomenon. Cars barely a few months old sell for well below their new car price. Blank here is a term for a low-quality car, familiar thanks to an iconic ad campaign. The author of this paper, George Akerlof, won the Nobel Prize, but is perhaps only the second best-known economist in his family. Fill in the blank with one word. Tell us who is George Akerlof married to.
Okay. The campaign, of course, is Volkswagen Lemon, and lemon being used for low quality cars or cars that usually get damaged. Eventually, lemon getting a derogatory connotation.
Okay.
The wife, I do not have a guess, but I will say Christine Lagarde.
Christine Lagarde. Okay, nice guess. Jaykantan?
So this is the market for lemons. This is what the paper is called. And his wife was basically the chairman of the Federal Reserve for a bit. Trump was famously against her and all that. I think her name is Janet Akerlof, Janet Yellen.
Janet Yellen is absolutely right. Lemon and Janet Yellen, the former chair of the Federal Reserve. Absolutely correct. Nicely done. Great finish to the quiz. 5 points to Jay and the full 10 points to Jaykantan on that. Right. So let's now take a look at the final scores.
So coming fourth in the college track is Adarsh.
Okay. Adarsh from AIIMS Bhubaneswar finishes fourth in the college track. Well done, Adarsh. Not your day today, but no problem.
And third is Atharva with 10.
Okay. Atharva from the College of Engineering Pune finishes third. Well done, Atharva.
Jay is third with 20 points.
Jay is second with 20 points, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Well done, Jay from NMIMS, pulling up after a slow start and finishing second.
And Zaman is comfortably in the lead by 15 points and he wins the college track.
Okay, so our college champion is Zaman Khan from the University of Hyderabad. Well done, Zaman. That was a good performance. Congratulations to you. Well done. Your prizes will be on the way. So 1,000 rupees to Zaman, 500 rupees to Jay, 300 rupees to Atharva, and 200 rupees to Adarsh. So you guys can be rest assured that at least you've recovered your registration fee for sure and a bit more. And when I say rupees, these will all be in equivalent Amazon vouchers, right? Not necessarily cash. All right. And now let's have the results of the open track.
Okay, so well, it's tied third. Ajay and Setu are both tied with 50 points.
Ajay and Setu are both tied with 50 points. All right, we'll figure out how to resolve that tie.
Yes, and second is Subrata with 65.
Okay, our runner-up for the open category, Subrata Das with 65 points. Well done, Subrata.
And getting 10 points in the last question, JK is first with 100 points.
Okay, JK completes his century on the last question. Well done. Jayakanthan, 100 points, clear winner. Nicely done. Thank you, guys. Thank you for sparing your time. And see you on another quiz soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Venki.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.